All right, going back to the top story we are tracking here on DD India News Hub. India hosts Afghanistan's Foreign Minister Maulvi Amir Khan Muttaqi. New Delhi decides to reopen its embassy in Kabul, and India ramps up humanitarian assistance and infrastructure development in the Taliban-ruled Afghanistan. Joining us is Ambassador Dileep Sinha. Is a former Indian envoy to the United Nations in Geneva and Greece. He headed the Pakistan, Afghanistan and Iran division in the Ministry of External Affairs in the mid-2000s. He is the author, most recently, of Imperial Games in Tibet, the Struggle for Statehood and Sovereignty, published in 2024. His first book, Legitimacy of Power, The Permanence of Five in the Security Council, was published in 2018. Ambassador Sinha, welcome to DD India News Hub. Straight off the bat, Ambassador, is the Taliban no longer persona non grata in New Delhi?
Well, thank you for having me, Ramesh.
Welcome.
Yes, it is quite clear that the Taliban have completed a full circle, and now they are no longer persona non grata in Delhi. The differences that have developed recently between Taliban and Pakistan, and the pressure that the Taliban are facing in Afghanistan, from Pakistan, has brought Delhi closer to them. We had been helping Afghanistan with some humanitarian assistance in the past, even during Taliban 2. But the earlier difficult days of Taliban 1 are clearly behind us. The Taliban government now is looking to India for further assistance and for improving relations, and India is clearly willing to respond.
Ambassador Sinha, help our viewers understand something here. Why this change in India's attitude or approach towards the Taliban? What explains it, and why now?
Well, two sets of developments. One is the relations between Pakistan and the Taliban have been deteriorating rapidly ever since the Taliban came to power. Pakistan had hoped to treat Afghanistan as its colony, and the Taliban as a kind of an assistant in Kabul, who would do their bidding, including promoting terrorism wherever they wanted. Now, Taliban obviously wanted to treat themselves as a sovereign country, and this was not to the liking of Pakistan. Besides, Pakistanis believed that the Afghan Taliban would not support the TTP, which is the Pakistani Taliban, who moved their base across to Afghanistan and started operating from Afghan territory and to promote the Taliban cause inside the NWFP, the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province in Pakistan. Now, this led to a deterioration in relations between Afghanistan and Pakistan. Meanwhile, the Taliban have been sending messages to India saying that they want to improve relations, and they are willing to ensure that their territory is not used for terrorism against India. So all these factors brought two countries together, and here we are, where we are upgrading our mission, that's what's called a technical mission, into a full-fledged diplomatic mission with a chargé d'affaires in Kabul.
So let me ask you this. For all practical purposes, does New Delhi's decision to reopen its embassy in Kabul mean that the relationship is being normalized?
Well, the effort is certainly to normalize relations, although we have to be careful, because Pakistan is still active inside Afghanistan, and it is possible that Pakistan will try and create trouble. As you would remember, in the earlier days of Ashraf Ghani and Karzai, the ISI was very active in Kabul, and there were attacks on the Indian embassy in Kabul conducted by the forces supported by the ISI. So those efforts are possible, and then Pakistan would try and put the blame on the Taliban. That is possible, so we have to be careful about this. And we also have to be careful about the internal policies of the Taliban, because although we do not interfere in the internal affairs of a country, that's their internal matter, but many of the human rights issues, concerns that are raised globally in Afghanistan are concerns that we also have, and we would like to the regime to start honoring the universal beliefs in human rights, especially the rights of women.
Let me also try to understand something else from you, Ambassador Sinha. Does the reopening of India's embassy in Kabul necessarily mean that India will formally recognize the Taliban government? Are the two interrelated?
Well, it has formally recognized. The fact is that when Muttaqi came today, he has been welcomed as the foreign minister of the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, which is the formal name that the Taliban give to their their government. So it is a formal recognition. It's just that there'll be no ambassadors exchange right now. I suppose in due course, the ambassadors.
Ambassador, if I may just come in there, I mean, why I'm asking you this is because as things stand today, at least 19 countries, including India, have reopened their embassies in Kabul. But only one country out of that lot, Russia, has formally recognized Taliban. So does having an embassy there necessarily mean recognizing the government there?
An embassy means recognizing the government. In any case, we follow the policy of recognizing the country as a sovereign country, and then relations thereafter are with the government concerned. Now, what had happened was that because of our relations with the Taliban not being good, we had downgraded our relationship to a level where we only had a technical mission, which was a kind of an embassy located in the same building, but it was not called an embassy. Now it will be called an embassy. It will be a mission, a diplomatic mission, which will be headed by a chargé d'affaires. And then in due course, whenever the situation and the relations get upgraded to a point where we feel that a senior person in the rank of ambassador can go there, will be sent.
Let me ask you another related question here, Ambassador Sinha. Given the history of bad blood between India and the Taliban, do you think the Taliban can and perhaps should do more to reassure New Delhi that it will not turn into a safe haven or sanctuary for terrorists that seek to harm India?
Well, yes, the Taliban will have to stand by their word. But I think the assessment in Delhi is that most of the terrorism that was emanating from Afghanistan earlier was essentially created by the ISI. And the Taliban were involved, but they were kind of unwilling partners in this. And we feel that now that the Taliban are fully in control of at least Kabul and the region around Kabul, and they claim that they are in control of all of Afghanistan, which would be good, because that would mean that now if any terrorism emanates from Afghanistan, they can hold the government of Taliban responsible for it and ask them to take action against those elements.
And finally, before we close, Ambassador, I mean, does India have a view on the backsliding of women's rights in Afghanistan? Lack of democratic freedoms, or would New Delhi be treating it as something internal or domestic to Afghanistan?
Our approach to human rights is that human rights is an internal affair of a country, and we do not interfere in the internal affairs of another country, but we do expect countries to honor their commitments, because as members, as signatories to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, as signatories to other international treaties dealing with human rights, it is the incumbent duty of every government to honor their commitments to human rights. So we expect the government of Afghanistan, whichever government it is, or any other government, to honor human rights. And India is always willing to help countries get the necessary training or encouragement to promote human rights. But interference or criticizing our country openly is not part of our policy.
Ambassador Sinha, thank you for joining us and sharing your thoughts with our viewers in India and around the world. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.